So I've been getting a lot of questions lately asking what you guys should craft with your Sparks of Ingenuity. I did make a video on this a couple weeks back, but, you know, some things might have gotten lost in translation, or maybe people just didn't see the video, but we are getting another Spark of Ingenuity this coming Tuesday, tomorrow, and I feel like the questions are going to really ramp up, because even if you've crafted two things, you got to know what to craft next, right? What are you going to spend your third one on? So we're going to talk about that today, and make sure you stick around to the end of the video because there is one really big tip that I want to give to you guys. This was shared to me by Rizzy in the DH Discord, and I think this is really going to help out some people in terms of Mythic Plus and their raid. It's something to do with crafting, so again, just make sure you stick around to the end of the video. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is what you should be spending your sparks on. This is going to be your third spark. You had one at the start of the expansion, roughly. You got another one 2 weeks later, and now 2 weeks later again, we're getting our third one. So the first one, you really should have spent on a Elemental Lariat. This is mine right here. As you can see, it's 405 eye level with 3 sockets on it, crit mastery as its substats, and then with the gems, I went primary stat with crit, and then for the other 2 gems, high mastery, low crit for both slots. Now this is because the proc on the neck, we'll read it first. Your spells and abilities have a chance to empower one of your socketed elemental gems, granting 499 of their associated stat for 12 seconds. So this proc looks to all of the gems that you have equipped, not just the ones in your neck, and each of those gems has an elemental property. The elemental property is associated with the lower stat on the gem. So these gems in particular are low crit, meaning they're fire elemental gems. So because I have those exact gems in all of my gear, every time that this neck procs, it's going to look to those gems. And because they're all crit, I'm going to get crit as the proc, meaning I'm going to get 499 critical strike every time it procs. So just something to keep in mind. I know at the start there was some confusion about what gems it actually looks to. Does it just look to the neck, or does it look at all of your gems? It does look at all of the gems in your gear, so keep that in mind. If you do have another gem somewhere, say I had one that was like high crit, low mastery, I would then be getting 2 different buffs. Not at the same time though, that's the thing. You never get them overlapping, which means if you're getting the mastery buff as well as the crit one, it's taking away uptime from the crit one. So just keep that in mind. As of right now, I'm getting all the crit procs. At one point I was experimenting with crit and haste. I was also experimenting with crit mastery. I've just been going with crit lately, and it seems to be working out just fine. So your first Spark of Ingenuity should have gone to your Elemental Lariat. That's, you know, this is a lock-in. This is what you need. You need to make this neck. Secondly, I made a belt. This was a choice I made. I know a lot of people might have disagreed with making a belt. You might have made something else, but this is what I made. I made a Lifebound belt, 402 eye level. It did get downgraded slightly because I put a thing on it. What are they called? Primal Infusion. And I wasn't able to get the craft back up to rank 5, so it did go down a bit, but it's at 402 eye level now. Eventually, I'll find somebody to recraft this and get it up to 408, I believe. And then later on, probably this week sometime, I'll get another concentrated Primal Infusion from doing plus 15s and higher, which then I can upgrade it to 418. So the 2 that I have, the 2 crafted pieces that I have currently are the Elemental Lariat and the Lifebound belt. So what am I going to make next? I've decided that I'm probably going to make a weapon next. Weapons are something that have been pretty hard to track down, especially in Mythic Plus. You know, going into the Mythic Plus season, I thought for sure that weapons were going to be plentiful, right? Like, we got the Storm Slash from Nokhud, we got one from Algathar, they're all over the place, right? But they're just not dropping. It seems like the only loot that we get from Mythic Plus is, you know, cloaks, rings maybe, boots. I have never seen a weapon drop. So I'm going to be making a weapon. It's going to be hard to track down a Warglaive. I know that much. Warglaives are kind of hard to find because the crafter would have had to specialize specifically into Warglaives. And that's just not that common. So it'll be easier to find something like a one-handed sword or an axe even. So if you're looking to get a weapon crafted, Just keep that in mind. You're going to have a harder time finding a Warglaive compared to the other types of weapons. In the end, it doesn't matter what type you use. They all do the same damage. They all have the same amount of stats. They all have the same DPS on them. Anything that's one-handed that you can use is going to be exactly the same. The only difference is the transmog. So I'm going to be making whatever I can find. Preferably, I don't know, the axe looks kind of cool. I'll probably make an axe. That looks pretty dope. So when I make the axe, I'm going to be putting crit mastery on it. And yeah, we'll go from there. So if you were somebody who already made a weapon, say you already made a weapon last week, so you have a lariat and a weapon, you could consider making a belt, or you can consider making the engineering wrists. So we can just look those up real quick. Where are they? Leather, wrists. Needlessly complex wrist guards. So these are made by engineers, and they do have a tinker slot on them. So of course you can insert one of the tinker items on it to get some type of benefit, whether it's a battle res or invis, or there's like an AoE fire breath thing. And it's up to you which one you want to use. If you are doing Mythic Plus, if you're like purely Mythic Plus player, this is a really good option for you because you can get those benefits, right? The invis is super useful, and the battle res is incredibly useful. The other thing to consider with these wrists are they only have one substat. So you can see in green there on the tooltip, it says one random stat. Of course, you can assign what it is, but it's not going to be split. So you're going to have a lot of one stat on these bracers. So you'll probably want to make it crit. That's going to be my best guess, but you can choose whatever you want. That's what I'm going to be making. I'm going to be making the weapon, and it's going to basically replace my 382. I'll bump it up to 418 because I have a concentrated primal infusion. Again, you get these by doing Mythic Plus dungeons above 15. Each of them, when you complete them, they'll drop an item. You get 10 of them, you combine them, and it turns into a concentrated primal infusion. And then you could add that onto your gear, and it'll allow you to craft it up to 418. So I'll be making a 418 weapon, putting it in my main hand, switching this 408 weapon to my offhand, and you get the idea. So just for some context, I did do some simming. For me, getting that weapon and putting it in my main hand, switching the fist weapon to my offhand, it's about a 1600, almost a 1700 DPS increase on single target. I did also sim increasing my elemental lariat up to 418 from where it is. That's about a 500 DPS increase. So this week, if I'm able to get 2 of those concentrated primal infusions, I can get both of those up. I'm going to be gaining roughly, just over 2000 DPS from both of those upgrades. So that's pretty huge. The other thing you can consider is you can possibly consider making a lifebound chest. What you do have to be careful with the chest is that it can interfere with tier. Even though getting a lifebound chest crafted, crit mastery, all the good stuff on it, it is our best in slot. This is something we've discovered recently, is that the chest is actually going to be best in slot, and you get the tier pieces from all the other slots, right? Your head, your shoulders, your legs, and boots? No. Gloves. So you want to use those 4 to get your bonus, and then you use the crafted chest. That is technically BIS in the end, but that is assuming you have access to all of those tier pieces in those other slots, and at the highest eye level that's not going to compete with this chest. For example, me, even though I could craft the chest, currently my tier is in my chest, and if I were to disrupt that tier bonus, I would be losing more DPS than I would be gaining, right? Because I'm losing my 4-piece, and I don't have the proper tier pieces to accommodate me still getting the bonus while using the crafted chest. So something to keep in mind. You definitely never want to disrupt your tier bonuses just to get a crafted chest, but later down the line, this is something you could make. If you're unsure, I would just hold off and maybe make this 2 weeks from now or in another 4 weeks, right? Usually going for a weapon is going to be good at this stage. You can't go wrong. I'm sure most of you don't have weapons. I mean, there might be some lucky people out there that do have higher eye level weapons, but I doubt it. There's man, getting a weapon has been tough. It has been tough. Okay, so now for the super extra bonus tip that I promised you guys at the end. So there are these items. called the Alchemical Flavor Pocket. It is something you can add on to the crafted item when you're in the crafting process. It adds 25 recipe difficulty, so it's just like an embellishment, right? It says increase duration of well-fed from Dragon Isles meals by 100%, and they now persist through death. Whatever item you're making, for example, I'm going to be making a weapon. So when I go to make this axe, I can add this in here. And even though this is showing up as an embellishment, that's kind of the slot you put it in here, and it's listed with all these other embellishments, it doesn't actually count as an embellishment. So you could wear your lariat, whatever else you've decided to put on, whether it's the blue silken lining or the fang adornments or whatever, and you can use this alchemical flavor pocket. This might be subject to change, but according to the data we've seen, the research that we've done, the data mining, this does not actually count as an embellishment. So you can actually end up getting this or using this as well as the other two. Usually there's a max of 2 embellishments that any character can use at a given time, right? So for example, I have the lariat and I have the blue silken lining on my belt. That's all I can use. But this alchemical flavor pocket does not actually count as an embellishment, so you can use all 3 of them at the same time. This is going to save you time in raid. You don't have to, eat your feasts again after every death. Where I think it's really going to be handy is in Mythic Plus, right? Every time you die in Mythic Plus, you got to run back, you got to find time to sit down and eat for 10 seconds to get the well-fed buff. Half the time, I don't even eat because, right, there's no time. Your group's moving ahead of you. You got to get back there, help them finish off the pack that you might have died during. It's just, there's no time, right? You've already died. You've already wasted time. You can't sit again for 10 seconds. But this allows it to persist through death. You do not have to eat again, and it's lasting double the time, so you're probably going to have it throughout the entire dungeon. So this is going to be very beneficial. I know for me, it's basically going to make sure I have that buff throughout the entire dungeon. It's a huge benefit to have. So yeah, when you go to craft your 3rd item, make sure you put this on it. Now, in the case that this is actually incorrect and it actually does count as an embellishment, there is something that you could do. You go to that NPC, what's his name? Grifta. He's in the Obsidian Citadel, kind of where like Rathian and Sibelian are. He's up top, and you can buy an item from him called Grifta's All-Purpose Embellishing Powder. And this allows you to remove an embellishment from a crafted item. So if you craft this and it turns out it doesn't actually let you equip it, you can always just remove it and you'll be good to go. Now you might be asking, where do you get this item? You can buy it off the auction house. I've purchased a bunch. I don't need a bunch, but I've purchased a bunch because I anticipate people wanting these, discovering that they can use this with their other embellishments and then scrambling to buy one. And the price is going to go up, I would imagine. So I've purchased a couple of them. I've got one for myself and a couple more sitting in the mailbox ready to resell when the time comes. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on what to craft next for your Havoc Demon Hunter, and I hope you enjoy that little bonus tip at the end there. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like, sub to the channel. You can also check out the Patreon, where you will get tips like this ahead of time. I posted this info much earlier than I am posting this video, so if you want to check out the Patreon, go check it out. There's a lot of cool things you can sign up for there. There's an actual physical Illidan mug that you can get. Super cool. As well as just early access to videos, access to scripts and notes for my videos. And yeah, you just get a little bit more info and a little quicker. So go check it out. And yeah, have a great holidays, guys. I hope your Christmas was well. And I hope you have a great New Year's. All right. Peace.